Hey Legend fans, in this short video, we're going to learn the answer to the question, how do I properly trim my outboard motor with this aluminum boat package? By understanding how to use my trim application a little bit more, your boating experience can significantly improve while out on the water. Things like control and maneuverability become much easier, as well as fuel efficiency while underway. Let's hop out into the water and learn a little bit more about trimming this outboard. Understanding how to properly use your trim and tilt operation can take a little bit of time and practice while you're out on the water. So make sure you find yourself in deep enough water that you can get practiced up with that trim and tilt operation. The tilt button on your Legend boat is located right on that throttle. You'll have an up and a down. Obviously, the shallower of water that you're going to be in or taking off out of a launch ramp, we want to have that outboard motor trimmed up enough that you're going to make sure you're not hitting any underwater obstacles while you're out and underway. To make sure you're not doing any damage while you're out there, as long as you have a telltale water stream coming out of the back of that engine and that steady stream, that will indicate that your impeller is picking up that lake water and cooling everything down inside the boat. So as long as you still have that engine performing and still operating with that telltale water stream, you're not going to be doing any damage while you're out there on the water. Once you get to the proper depth and have enough water depth that you want to take off and get up on plane, always begin with your engine trimmed all the way down. So we're ready to take off in this boat, and we've made sure that there's no obstacles or anything out in our way. We've made sure that we have a lot of depth and there's no underwater obstacles to be worried about. And we're ready to go ahead, put the throttle down and get this boat up on plane. You're going to notice that as I accelerate, the nose of the boat is going to be up in the air. We want to keep with a steady acceleration until that nose of that boat comes down and we get up onto a steady plane. So let's go ahead and take off now. So we're going to begin to accelerate this boat. And as we see the bow of this boat come in the air, you'll also see it start to come back down after about 3 seconds to get back up on plane. So from this position, I can decelerate a little bit of the throttle if I just want to stay up on plane at a nice cruising speed. But when I'm ready to accelerate, I can now make sure that I'm getting up to a higher speed. This 150 regular 4-stroke is going to have a max RPM of 5,800. So once I see that I start to increase my RPMs over that 5,000 and I want a little bit more acceleration and a little bit of more speed and control and maneuverability, I'm going to make gradual adjustments to my trim and slowly start trimming my outboard out of the water. I can already see my RPMs beginning to increase to hit that max level, and I can feel the steering and the control becoming a little bit easier as I get up to top speed of this boat. If you start to experience a bit of that blowout or cavitating or cavitation sound, that's going to be your largest indicator that you've over trimmed the outboard. If you start to exceed the max RPMs, you'll start to hear a little bit of that noise that you hear right now is the starting sounds of the engine beginning to be over trimmed and starting to blow out a little bit. So simply just make those gradual adjustments back down on your trim. The prop naturally always spins to the right. So turning right with this rotary steering is always going to be a little bit easier. Turning left, you'll find a little bit stiffer, but that's another great reason that you want to have good control over that trim application, is that your control and your maneuverability while at higher speeds, when I begin to trim that engine, becomes a little bit easier to steer left and to steer right when I have less of that outboard in the water. So I get much more responsiveness with that steering by utilizing my trim a little bit more. We learned that while at higher speeds, it was a little bit easier to control my boat and the steering by utilizing that trim and trimming the outboard engine up to find that desired RPM and comfort level. While coming in to the docks maybe or operating at slower speeds, it's actually nicer to have your outboard trimmed down a little bit more. So as I trim down, I'm going to feel the boat be a little bit more responsive and give me a little bit more control and handling while at lower speeds. Again, always check to make sure you have proper operating depth and you're not trimming the outboard too deep into the water in very shallow water conditions. So I hope you found this video useful and learning a little bit more of some of your popular questions to how to properly trim your outboard engine paired with your aluminum boat. For any other questions, simply drop us a comment below and we'll be sure to get you looked after.